Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary here for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday evening. No guest again tonight, so it's just me and thee, Pete.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
I forgot. Because there's not people to introduce. Peter Ray Allison, everybody. Welcome.
Hello again. How are you? How's everyone doing?
Yeah. How was your Jaws? How was your week off, man?
Oh yeah, I needed a holiday to recover from the holiday, and yeah, it was just basically some time off with the family, away from the four walls, and just have some time together. Kind of just chill out a bit and relax. And yeah, it was good in that sense. Then we came home and had like a pile of washing and all the stuff we hadn't done for a week piled up, ready for us to do. So then I had to do about another week, just sort all the crap out that had built up over time. And it's just one of those things of just like, I need a holiday again.
Man, I had a week off. And you can tell, I'm coming to the tail end of a cold at the minute. It's not COVID. 99.9% sure it's not COVID. One, because I've got double jabbed ages ago, and two, I didn't lose taste and I didn't lose any other stuff. It's just standard cold symptoms. But I was off for a week, didn't do a lot, had a good time. Went for a drink in the White Lion down the road from me, with my mate, and the next day felt absolutely grim. And I had one drink. That might be called a hangover. No, it was definitely not a hangover.
Are you sure? I mean, you have hit that age, where things start dropping downhill very fast.
All right.
Trust
I'm 40.
me. Trust
I'm not
me.
dead yet.
Trust me. I know from experience, lots of experience, and this is why I no longer drink.
Yeah, it was definitely. I had one cider, and I literally the next day woke up just feeling absolutely grim. So somebody in that place was licking the rim of the glass or something, because I just felt absolutely shit. Like, it's a good pub. I like the White Lion. So I'm not downgrading the White Lion. I'm just saying that I came out just feeling grim. So it's maybe you know what it is? Maybe it's because it wasn't even my first time in a group of people, because I was in the Ritz for the Jilly's sort of reunion thing. There was people everywhere and I was fine. I was just in the pub.
Yeah, I mean, things are opening up now as well, which is quite cool. I mean, with precautions and safe protocols in place to minimize risk.
Well, yeah, you know what? That's true, because we went to a Jilly's Rock World reunion night in Manchester.
Oh, nice.
Now that was not last week before last. And it's just, if anybody knows what Jilly's Rock World was, it was a big place in Manchester, and it's not a Tesco's. It's not a Tesco's on the Oxford Road in Manchester.
No,
they changed it. Yeah, man, where have you been?
Well, not in Manchester for starters.
Yeah, it's gone years ago. They turned it into a Tesco's, like running jokes. You'd have metlers going into the frozen aisle and kind of going, rocking out. It's like, this used to be the dance floor. But we went to this reunion gig and a reunion thing in the Ritz in Manchester, and you had to be double jabbed, and you had to prove that you were double jabbed, and if you couldn't, you had to take a test before you went in. And I actually thought that was quite good. My old drummer at the time, was giving me all this bollocks about freedoms and blah blah blah, and I was like, dude, the government aren't going. His thing was like, it's like, why should I have an app? Because the government's going to sort of kind of keep a tag on me, and I was like, dude, you're on social media, you're on all these other things. The government's already got a tab on you. Having an app that tells you that you do or do not have COVID isn't going to be a problem in any way, shape, or form. It's not a thing. It just makes it easier for you to get into. It's just like, it's like, no. We had this full-on debate about it. I said, well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm going in, and the government can track me all they want, and then we'll see what happens. So I went in.
They can track you going into rock night.
Yeah, and it's just like, boring stuff. I'm just going to get super smashed, and But yeah, so me and my mate Steve, we could prove that we were double jabbed, so that was fine to let us in. My mate James, who is a guitarist in my band, he couldn't, so they basically said to him, well, you can have a test, and they had these tests. They ran out, so we had to run over.
Is it like the lateral flow test? Where
lateral flow test. So they actually ran out. So he had to go he ran up to a chemist and got one, and then came back and proved, I'm fine. And they let us in and had a great night. A lot of people there. Yeah. Everybody was sort of obviously fine because I came out, bar a huge hangover, feeling absolutely grim. Was fine, but then the one, because I'm round here, they're around in these parts because we're out in the sticks and stuff like that. You do have crazy people, I think, who have this view that if double jabbing is wrong or something like that, and each to their own. You're wrong. If you don't believe in vaccinations, then what the hell are you doing? But anyway, there are some people around here who do that. To be honest, not many, but there are some. And obviously one of them's come wandering into that pub.
A vocal minority.
One of them's gone into walking into that pub when I was there, and I've come out feeling like absolute shit the next day. Now, it wasn't COVID. Or maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure what the double jab does. I don't know the science behind it, unfortunately. I know it stops you from... does it stop you from getting it? It stops you from getting the symptoms?
It doesn't stop you from getting it. It stops you from the symptoms. Basically, it lessens the degree to which the symptoms affect you.
See, that could have been it. It could be it. That could be it. So I might have had it. Some sort of troglodyte who didn't believes the world's flat and 6,000 years old could have wandered in there and went, I don't want to be vaccinated, spread his germs everywhere, and then
it's always worth just getting yourself just double checking and just having a test.
Yep. And I didn't. I'm pretty much over whatever. It felt like it was a cold. I didn't have any of the other symptoms other than cold symptoms and stuff. So maybe it knocked it down a few pegs to just cold. But whatever it was, I went in there and felt absolutely grim the next day. And so I'm just about getting over it now.
I had my first night out about 2 weeks ago. Kaylee had taken the kiddies camping, and after a history of club scouting in my teenage years, I'm allergic to camping now. And so basically Kaylee took the kiddies camping for the weekend and left me on my own in the house.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? So I immediately got in touch with a mate, PT. Yes, he's also called Pete, which makes things confusing for us. And we found out there's a rock night in Nottingham called Killy Television. And at the South, the old Salutation, as it's known, or more accurately, the Sal.
Yeah.
And went out there and had a good night. The first night out in about, realistically, 2 years. And it was great. Basically, there was no... Completely opposite to you. There was no COVID testing at all.
Right, okay.
There was no social distancing, nothing like that. But I came out absolutely... No, but everyone was being sensible. We're maintaining distance other than your circle of friends. And it was fine. The dance floor wasn't as packed. It was like basically people in their own little groups around. That's
how it should be. I hate one of the worst things about going to a club in any way, shape or form is a dance floor that is absolutely heaving. Like I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like if when I go to a club and I want to dance, I like to break out my air guitar and I like to sort of, I like a bit of space to strut around and kind of and do my thing.
You have a blast radius to your dancing, don't you?
Yeah, I need blast radius. Yeah, you're right. I do. There's definitely area of effect. So I need a bit of space. And I absolutely loathe and detest going to any club where there is a dance floor which is literally like sardines and all you have is literally a bunch of people jammed together, literally doing this with their shoulders, and you've got a girl or a couple of girls doing this with their fingers and sort of moving their hips and super drunk, and then a guy trying to sort of kind of come on to them and stuff. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it, man. It's just sort of... It does nothing for me.
You can't dance because, dancing is movement and grace and moving around. It's not like... standing still.
You know what? And this is super sad, but like, especially in my formative years when I was younger, especially like when I first got to Manchester and stuff, I used to love it when there was nobody on the dance floor. And because what you would get is, so in like back in the day when all the rock clubs used to be actually open in Manchester, so you had like the Ritz and you had Rock Kitchen and you had Jilly's and you had Satan's Hollow, of which you basically got the Ritz and sort of like Satan's Hollow left. But at the start of the night, all the sort of stuff that kind of I was into and my mates were into, all the sort of kind of hardcore stuff, was played at the start. And there was nobody on the dance floor because nobody knew what it was. And it's just like, yes. And you could get on to a huge dance floor on your own, have as much space as you want, just to rock
and
around.
Just dominate it.
Yeah, it's good. And it was all about having a dance and just enjoying it and stuff. Yeah. And then what you do is, at the end of the night, you get to the point where there was just so many people on the dance floor. And just, I can't dance. Yeah. How can I break out my air guitar, thing when there's people everywhere and stuff? And I just can't do it. It annoys me. It actually frustrates me and gets me slightly angry.
One thing that really annoys me on the dance floor is those people that try to turn it into improvised mosh pits by barging into each other. As if it's like a mosh pit at a gig, and it's just like, no, do not do that.
Yeah, I'm a bit iffy with, like, when I was a kid. Obviously, when you're young, mosh pits are awesome, and crowd surfing's awesome. Like, I spent most of my time crowd surfing. Like, I remember, like, even when I first came to Manchester, actually pretty much from the ages of 16 to the age of like 19, 20, crowd surfing was pretty much anything, was all you did.
Dude, and you are a big guy, to be fair. So that must have been a hell for everyone.
Oh man, I think one of the last times, no, not one of the last times. Well, what stopped me crowd surfing as much was I was at a concert in Belfast, and this would have been ages ago, right? And Reef, because you didn't get many good bands coming to Belfast and stuff like that, but Reef were playing, and they were kind of semi-rocky, so I was like, sweet, I can drink outside, and I can crowd surf and stuff. Problem is, back home, if you crowd surf, you get kicked out of the gig. So they if they catch you, and they do this in certain things. You crowd surf, they grab you, and they turf you out. And so I Reef were on, and I crowd surfed, and I was like, I've got it on these guys and stuff. They can kick me all they want. So crowd surfed, got to the front, bouncers grabbed me right out. I went, okay, grabbed me, trailed me out the front. I just went round the entrance again and came back in. And I did this twice. And then the third time, I got up the crowd surf, and there was obviously, I was tempting fate by then. Third time, I was like, I'm indestructible, I'm super drunk. And I came on, and I got dropped on my back. The crowd obviously didn't, hold me sort of long enough, and I got dropped on my back, and I hurt myself. And the bouncer who had kicked me out twice before just looked at me and laughed, and I was just like, all right, fair point. Fair point. And he kicked me out again, and then I just came back round again and sort of came in. But it was just like, yeah, I loved it. I loved that. But the thing is, the point was, when we went to sort of like hardcore gigs, so we went to the Star and Garter, and you had all the guys who were doing like, they were throwing fists and stuff around. Like, I'd stay away from stuff like that, because as much as I like a bit of a mosh and a bit of roughhousing and stuff, I don't fancy getting punched in the face. And
that's not high on my kind of goals for going to a live gig, really.
Yeah, and you'd get to that point where you sort of, you get guys, and it was always the big motherfuckers with their shirt off who were literally flying around and sort of like punching and stuff like that. So I came from one of those guys who would be right in the center moshing or sort of jumping off, to the guy who was standing there looking very disapproving in the sort of kind of the perimeter. And I was that guy. It's like, I'm going to stand here, and if you fucking hit me with that fist, you're getting belted, I'm gonna hit you back. And I'd stand there, and you'd get those guys who were just like, they'd be like, am I gonna do it? And it was like a game of chicken. It's like, is he gonna fucking do it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd have to actually get out of the way, because they're way bigger.
I've got a little confession to make. No, I was never that guy, but I did kung fu. More accurately, I was doing kung fu at the time. I then met Kalia, dropped out of it for many years, and now just recently got back into it early this year. But I'll be there in the not in the mosh pit, because that's not my style. I'm on the edges of it. And every now and then, basically, I just kind of, some guy would be lurching towards me, and I'd just be blocking it like hell. not thinking about it, just reacting. And part of me is thinking, this is bloody dangerous. And the next thing, and other part of me is thinking, this is bloody good practice.
Yeah.
So like, you got this random fist flying everywhere, and just you're acting on purely an instinct just to block and get out the way. And it's just like, yeah, my instincts are okay.
Get out the way, kid. Get out the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, if you ever say like, oh, I know kung fu, jump in a mosh pit for a minute and see how they're fair.
Like I think what I always think is quite cool in gigs, and I've been to. I appreciate this. I suppose it's kind of nerdy in its own way, but a lot of nerds are into their heavy metal and things, or into rock music at least. But when you go to gigs like I went going to a Machine Head gig, and I've seen this, Dave Grohl's done it in Foo Fighters and things like that, where you have people, have bands, and there was always that sort of unwritten rule that if you did something, if you were in a mosh pit and somebody fell down, you picked them back up again. So anybody who was on the ground, you got picked up again. So I remember me knocking my ass a couple of times, and there was always somebody there to pick you up and make sure you're okay. And I thought that was really awesome, because it was like it was roughhousing, but there was sort of care in there as well. But you would always get that dickhead again, generally the guy who was off his face and with his shirt off, who was kicking off. And I was in a gig where, like, I remember Rob Flynn from Machine Head stopping the gig and just having a go at this guy in the mosh pit for being, and I think he got him kicked out because he was just being an asshole. And it's just like, not in our gig, get out. Yeah. And I think Dave Grohl did the same. It's just like, you're starting a fight, you're not sort of, it's not in the sort of, what's the word? Not the theme, the
mood.
Yeah, the mood of the whole thing. Rock music is sort of aggressive, but it's sort of an expression, not it's not actual sort of aggression and stuff.
No, it's not violent.
It's not violent, and so you need to go kicked out. And I kind of like stuff like that.
March 1999, seeing the Fun and Criminals for the first time and cementing my opinion that they are the coolest guys in rock. And basically, like, I was about middle of the gig, rocking away to it. And basically, the front man, Hugh Morgan, stopped the gig midway through and just started lambasting this guy, going, dude, what are you thinking about? Just stop what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Like, go, dude, you're missing the vibe up for everyone here. Come on, dude. You're missing it up. Come on, just stop it.
Yeah, I've been playing gigs, not like we played them loads of people and stuff, but when we played gigs, and you've had sort of people who are just being assholes on the floor, and you're just like, to the point where I actually, because I had sort of like a wireless sort of thing, I just stood on the dance floor with my guitar there, just so this guy wouldn't fucking do anything and stuff, because it was just like, he was going around throwing punches and things, and I was just like, yeah, man, I didn't want to stop the flow of the gig, but it's just like, it was annoying me that he was doing it, so threw myself in harm's way, as it were.
Yeah, I remember I used to light and sound for university, and way back in the depths of time. And basically, at one time, we had to ask this band to get their lead singer off the dance floor because he was annoying the fuck out of us by basically being that guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names because the band were fairly well known in the city, but we had to basically just say, can the rest of this band get their lead singer because he's being an effing tosser? And that's not the sort of thing you want to kind of have to put up with when you're doing light and sound, because you'd spent the entire day putting up the entire lighting rig, which is like, this is before health and safety. So we were up on like 30-foot high step ladders, mounting the lighting rig in the ceiling. And we've been doing that all day, and we just want to chill out and enjoy the night. And they've got some twat, and he just turned out to be the bloody lead singer of the next band.
Yeah, well, you do get sort of like, I remember sort of playing a gig. This is just turning into music talk, but I remember playing a gig, and I'll not name the band. Or should I name the band? It was a long time ago. I'll not name the band of the guy he was in, but I'll name the band that we were supporting and stuff like that. Right, so we were in support a band called Azrael, and we were sort of playing, and I basically we had brought our own amps and stuff with us, and the whole thing is like we weren't sure, were we sharing cabs, where did they want to put us our heads and things like that, and I said to the sound guy, I said, you know, what do you want me to do with my head? Do I take the guy's set off? Do I put it on top? Blah blah blah. He said to stick on top. All right, no probs. I went over, stuck my head on top of the other guy's head, and this fucking guy came over from the other band, the other support band. He says, "Man, what the fuck are you doing?" He says, "Do you not know who we are? Do you know this band? You know, Azure, blah blah blah." And he's just like, you know what? I'm not even sure if it was the band Azure, whoever it was, they were just like giving me so much shit. And he says, "I don't want to be an asshole or anything." And I said, "I want to stop you there, man, but you are being an asshole. All you could have done is just said, 'Sorry, dude, that's not the way it is.'" I said, you know, I asked the sound guy. He told me what to do. I did the thing. You don't have to be a knob about it. And he went, "Well, you know, just so you know and stuff, you know." And he was being all the big "I am" and stuff. And I was just like, man,
yeah.
Why are you that guy? And then that gig, some motherfucker stole my cab. I'd lent stuff out, and they lent my bloody speaker cable out, and I went back to ask him, and he went, "Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Man, I lent you a speaker cable." "Oh, I don't know where that."
Jeez.
"Don't know. Sorry, man." And I was just like, right, not impressed with that shit. No.
No, I mean, actually, well, I do want to bring you up on a point, actually. You said music isn't geeky, and I beg to differ. I mean, White Zombie, White Zombie did More Human Than Human.
Yep.
Which
More
is
human
Blade
than human.
Human, which is basically Blade Runner, the metal track.
Yeah. No, I'm not
Tons
saying
of references.
it is. The music is.
I'm not finished. Yeah, it is. It's massive. I am the Nexus One. I want my life fucker because I ain't done. You've got Wednesday 13, massive horror nerd. He's done like Haddonfield, Teenage Zombie, and also Die Sci-Fi, which is basically Alien, the metal track. And yeah, basically there's Kung Fu by Ash. Okay, not as hardcore as White Zombie or Wednesday 13. That is basically, I love Kung Fu movies, and I can relate to it.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree. There's a lot of bands that are, you know, completely nerdy. In the end, you know, look at Led Zeppelin. A lot of their stuff is Lord of the Rings. Yeah. You know, a lot of their stuff. The immigrant songs about a Silmarillion.
Yeah,
it was
about
the white sort of the Sindarin elves coming across. Or yeah, it's been a while since I've read Silmarillion, but you know, it's about that migration of elves and things like that. And you know, they've got stuff. A lot of Lord of the Ring references and stuff. I'm not saying that music isn't inherently geeky, because it is, a lot of it. It's just that when you're talking music and you're talking one specific genre, which is metal or whatever, some people who are listening to this podcast might go, "I have zero interest in rock and roll or heavy metal," and you having a mosh pit. And so that in itself is maybe not overly geeky. That was my sort of
point. Yeah, I mean, like Level Up Leroy does an entire geeky set of music, and with room to spare. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, he's just a cool guy, and yeah, he's a friend of the show, and we must have him on again sometime to talk about music.
There's a hardcore band called Horse the Band, and they use old school like emulators and stuff to have sort of like old school music. So it's like hardcore beatdowns, but they have sort of like retro sort of kind of sounds and stuff in it, and that's all pretty awesome.
Also, one of my favourite tracks, and not playing this at all, is Fire It Up by Busta Rhymes, which is basically the Knight Rider track.
Yes.
And I'm just a massive, I'm that nerd. I'm like, this is cool, and this is hip hop, and I fucking love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So back to coronavirus, and I think this is where we kind of got on to sort of like gigs and things like that. There's Dragon Con at this moment in time on, and I've seen a lot of photographs in the group, the Dragon Con group, where people are still wearing masks. There still seems to be sort of, you know, I'm not sure what the restrictions are or what restrictions you needed to get into Dragon Con this year and stuff, but but there seems to be a lot of people still wearing masks. Like, now, I've not worn a mask in a while in my, you know. I've not worn a mask in a while and stuff like that. I've just sort of, maybe slightly selfishly, gone, I'm double jabbed and fine, and I just sort of wandered around. But there was sort of a lot of people. In the end, if I wouldn't, for me, if somebody said stick a mask on, or if a shop says wear masks, I'd wear a mask. If it doesn't, I don't think anybody at this moment in time is wearing a mask, and so far, I've been fine.
I was at a park today with some friends and children, and I was not wearing a mask because of free open air. I think the risk is extremely low. But when I go into a shop like those, I do a weekly food shop or what have you, I will put a mask on. Yep. It doesn't cost me anything. It makes me feel a bit safer. Right. So right. it's not that fair. Now, I was at UK Games Expo at the last month. Now, and that was an interesting experience. They did have quite a few COVID restrictions in place. The aisles were wider. It's much bigger in terms of space. And they deliberately dropped the ticket numbers down just to kind of make sure it wasn't as crowded. Where before, you were basically elbowing people left and right just to get anywhere. Now it was much more spacious and you could move around quite easily. You had to have a mask on the entire time, apart from when you were eating or going outside into the fresh air area of a breather. You have to have evidence of either being double jabbed or having a recent test that came back negative.
Mm-hmm.
And and you had to the people using the NHS app, COVID-19 app, just kind of okay, I'm fine, let me in. And that was fine. It was fun. It was great just to be around people again and talking about Geek and gaming and just catching up with people I hadn't seen for about 2 years. And it was just great. I mean, we have what I did find interesting was there was quite a few pings. There was a bit of a pingdemic within following the UK Games Expo, but as far as I'm aware, the actual number of people that subsequently tested positive, I have not personally heard of anyone testing positive following the UK Games Expo. Now, I'm not saying there weren't any, but I personally did not know it. So, as I see it from my own observations, which I am not a medical healthcare professional, neither am I in any way, shape, or form a statistician or researcher, but I go on purely on my observations, is that the COVID restrictions in place were able to mitigate the transmission of COVID.
Right.
And if that is in place and things we can meet up again, fine. Because, I mean, we have got quite a few things coming up. Sci-Fi Weekend was supposed to be next month in October time, November. And that's been cancelled, not cancelled, that's been put back to next year. But we have got World's Comic Con coming on with James Abar, so I'm dying to go and see that guy because this is the guy that created The Crow. We've got CEX coming up, which has moved down to London, the bastards.
EGX is in London now?
Yeah. I know. It was Birmingham. I know Birmingham was great for me because I literally just
it was only an hour for me and stuff. I don't know if it could be arse going all the way down to London. I go to MCM, but it's just I enjoy EGX, but fuck, is it in the Excel Centre?
Yeah, I think so. The Excel Olympia, one of those anyway. But yeah, it's sorry, no, I'm not going for that. Sorry, no, it's just too far for me. And also, I mean, I would have been getting the train down and being stuck in a carriage with a bunch of sweaty people for a few hours. No, thanks. But we have got Wales Comic Con coming up, which is not in Telford, which is not in Wales.
Yeah.
You've got Fantasy Con coming up. About this time, about next month. Later this month, in fact, 24th. So that's in Birmingham. So I'm hoping to be down there for that. But again, that's stuff I can just drive to. But yeah, so things are gradually opening up. Events are starting to happen, and restrictions that will be in place to a greater or lesser degree. And things seem to be working out okay. Fingers crossed. Now,
Yeah.
things seem to be kind of, whilst they're not dropping as sharply as we'd like, but they are holding steady.
Yeah, well,
So
we've got to see about all these variants and stuff like that. I just see what the score is, but it's like,
exactly, it's
I don't think we're ever going to get rid of this. I don't think. I
no,
think it's just going to be a variation. Like, one thing I learned is something like COVID is just a type of cold, and it's been known about since, like, the 60s or something like that. There's different thing. There's different sort of. I saw. It's one of the. There's like this guy on TikTok. He's a doctor, and he's like really interested, and he's just doing this thing, and they were going, "Oh, COVID's been around for ages. Why didn't they tell us about it then?" It's just like, because there's different strains of it, and the first 2 or 3 are just the common cold. And then you got the one that is now currently sort of kind of spreading around, and that's the sort of the more dangerous one, and it's just sort of a variant of a cold.
Yeah, basically, we will never get rid of COVID. Unfortunately, it is here to stay.
Yeah.
However, we have got treatments in place now that have been shown to help. We found that being double jabbed at least prevents you from getting long COVID.
Yeah.
It also reduces the risk of you exhibiting symptoms and also the severity of those symptoms. And in many ways, what we'll probably end up doing is have like a regular COVID jabs, like you do with weekly flu,
I think that's
jabs.
well, yeah. I think that's going to be the case.
And that's fair enough. And just let me say again, there is no chips in the vaccines.
Right, it's
Wake
just
the fuck up.
I'd like to say each to their own and stuff, but anti-vaxxers are absolutely insane. If you don't believe in vaccines, then why you got vaccinated as a child for different things, there's no difference, and it just boggles my mind. And if being sort of like on sites and stuff, like obviously dating sites and things, it's like, if you're double jabbed, don't
how will they know? Honestly, I mean, I don't pick up 5G.
Yeah,
I don't have Windows Human installed.
It's people being people, and it's just like, what sort of kind of boggles my mind is, I investigate fraud for a living. I have done for like 13 years. I'm not saying I'm completely clued into everything and stuff, but I've got a sort of a suspicious mind about most things. But it's like, I'm rational. There's a difference, it's a rational thought with,
critical analysis.
Critical analysis, but then there's so many people who are just like, no, because the government want to do this, and he wants to do that, and blah blah blah. It's like, where are you getting this from? Why? There's no basis for this whatsoever. You've been immunized from like rubella and smallpox and all kinds of things like that when you were a kid. What's the difference? There's no difference. And it's just like, it's just another one because it's here. And the fact that you refuse to do it, it's just, you're literally the people in that movie before the zombies hit. You're basically the people who refuse to do it and then become zombies because that, and you don't see it. It's just, it absolutely boggles my brain.
One of those things. I mean, I accept most people. Like, people have their, freedom to think what they want. I mean, it's a free world. They can do what they want. But when you're willfully endangering the lives of other people, that is when I draw the line. I'm thinking, nope. Yeah, no, you're wrong.
I'm exactly the same. And it's like, if there was some sort of tangible evidence that said that the government were shipping vaccines, or were trying to track you, or were, these vaccines were going to cause X, Y, and Z, you know what, I would. And to be honest, when it first happened, I remember talking to myself and my friend John. Again, he's a critical thinker. He really likes to sort of kind of challenge everything and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm not 100% sure I want to get these straight away because I don't know enough about them. And I was like, you know what? I'm the same. I'm not 100% sure I'm ready. But then I read about it. I found out a bit more about it. And I sort of kind of did my checks and went, okay, on the balance of probabilities, this is probably for the best. And I didn't do all this fucking this sort of like, oh my god, the government's doing this and blah blah blah. But you know what annoys me is they probably voted for that government in the first place, and if they didn't,
I'll tell you one thing as well. One point, the government is wanting to track you, but they're not going to put chips in vaccines.
Yeah, the government wants to track you.
This is how they track
already
you.
Tracking
Read
you.
the Investigative Powers Act. I have covered that for 5 years and have been repeatedly covering that. That is how they track you through your internet search history, through your emails, through your texts, through your messages, through GPS, through your sat nav, through Fitbits, through everything like that.
And the thing is, lots of people can find you. It's like in my job, what I do, we find people. So you know, like I don't do as much because I've got some of the innovation stuff. But you know, when I was doing my intelligence searches and things like that, you had things to find, and I still have access to things that, you know, if you have literally had an email address, a phone number, a name, or something,
national insurance number,
whatever, there at some point in time on the internet, I'll find you. And I'll know what you're doing. And
each of us has a digital footprint.
Yeah, and that's it. The people you don't find are old people because they don't have a digital footprint because they've not been
predated.
Yeah, they're predated, all that stuff. So they're the ones who are sort of generally you won't find very much on. But it's like it's just if people want to find, like we got this other bit of kit, which is basically it's called I2. And we've got a database of intelligence, so it's all the stuff that we get on dodgy people. We only fill it up with people where there's tangible evidence of there being fraud. So that database gets filled with bad guys, basically, and we use that to make sure we link things in. And you link stuff in, and it gives you like a diagram. The military and stuff use stuff like this as well, and it gives you like a little spider diagram showing links between different different entities and stuff like that. Now, there's stuff that you can do within that, which we're looking into, where you can get phone numbers. You can get sort of stuff through Skype, through WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp is meant to be encrypted, but there's obviously, because Facebook owns it and things like that, there's stuff, you know, and if you use any of these things, there's way to find it. And what happened, like they showed us a demo of it, and they put in a phone number, and that phone number linked to a Facebook page that used the facial recognition stuff to go, well, because that phone number and we think that name, this person is probably this person, and it did all these different things, going through all the different sort of things that person had on the internet or things like that. So it's like, unless you have zero footprint on the internet, which very few modern contemporary people will have, unless you're sort of a complete Luddite, you're gonna get nabbed. And again, if you've got a phone, they're going to get you. And so, you know, having a job's not going to do any difference. It's like, if your government wants to track you, they will. And the thing is, in the end, if you've got a government that you fear and you think's going to track, well, why do you vote for them? Or if you don't vote for a different party. Because invariably, you've got two types of people who sort of kind of do this. You've either got the people who don't vote, who kick off about this stuff. And then you're like, but you don't vote. This is what, and you know, they're all the same. They're all the same.
If you're not going to engage the democratic process, then you have no right to complain.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, in the end, you're creating that situation. And if they did vote, they probably voted the party that's there in anyway, and then they don't trust them. So what, you voted for them? And it's just like, I don't understand. And it's just like, you're coming up because some Facebook meme told you, and then because you've got this sort of pseudo, and I'm not saying they're unintellectual, they're just misguided. It's not like, there's a lot of intelligent people, and I've got a few people on my Facebook page, and I'm sure some of them may not sort of watch this and see that. It's just like, and they just challenge things wrong, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with being challenging. There's nothing wrong with having a critical analysis of what is going on in the world. You should challenge things. You should challenge everything that's going on. You shouldn't accept everything as a norm, but just you can't be blind to the reality or to the practicalities or to the rationalization of it all. It's like, just because you think that's right doesn't mean you're right. You know, you could be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. And there's one thing I always say when I do my history stuff. This is like, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. You learn from it and stuff like that. Yeah. So if you've got a view and you do your research, if you've got your view and even maybe spout it off about it, and you've done your research and you're wrong, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to get hurt there is a bit of your pride.
Learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. You learn from it, and it's just like, you know what? I try now. I used to be when I was. This is a bit of a segue, but when I was younger, if I was wrong about something, you know, you'd fight to the death, and you were just like, you know, and you'd fight that case simply because that's just the way. You know, your pride would hurt too much. It's like, oh, I can't be wrong, so I will double down and thing. And more recently, and I'll say in the last sort of, especially doing history and things, more in the last sort of kind of 5 to 10 years, I'd say, I've been more open to being wrong and not feeling too bad about it or being called on something. And so, like, as much as it hurts, if somebody tells you you're wrong and you realize you are wrong, it's just like, shit, I feel like an idiot. But that's the worst thing that's ever going to happen to you. And then you can turn around and go, you know what, I was wrong. And I look back at stuff I've written on Facebook, and I go, fucking hell, I was so wrong there. And, you know, and I'm happy to sort of change my view on things and stuff like that. And if somebody calls it up and says, well, that's just the way it is. I've learned. Yeah. I've moved forward. I've progressed. I've evolved as a person. I'm not this sort of entrenched troglodyte who has no sort of view on how sort of things should evolve and how human beings should, you know, better themselves. You know, I'm not going to just entrench myself in something that's false. If it's false, it's false. And there's a lot of stuff that I would say I've learned as a child that I thought, you know, was very close to me. And I've learned that's wrong. You know, I can't, you know, big thing. I come from Northern Ireland. Religion is a big thing over there. And I'm an atheist. And I remember the point where I decided that I was like, this is bullshit. I don't believe in this. No, I'm not going to say bullshit because I don't believe in it. I was basically, because I was doing history and there was too much stuff going on. I understood where it was all coming from. I was reading books. I was watching stuff on Darren Brown. I was watching loads of documentaries, reading loads of books about it. And I said, I cannot reconcile myself with what I'm learning in history, what these books are telling me, what I'm learning on sort of the internet and things like that. And therefore I just went, I'm just going to have to give it up. That was painful. I remember the day it happened, and my heart was just like, you're never going to see your loved ones again. This, that, the other, all this other stuff came flying through, all that stuff. And you have to sort of fight through it and just go, but that's the truth, or at least as close to the truth as a rational man can get. There is no evidence, therefore I have to, you know, I have to accept where the science is, and that's what you should do. And it hurts, but that's the best way to be a better person, I say. You know, just don't hold this sort of pride thing inside you and stuff. You know, if you're wrong, you're wrong, and you just have to sort of, you just have to deal with it and stuff, you know. And I'm not, you know, there's the whole Richard Dawkins thing on that, you know, you can't be an out and out atheist because you cannot prove categorically that there is no God, but it's agnostic with a leaning towards atheism, basically. So you're agnostic to the point where it is atheism, but it's not, in that way. And like, I cannot prove 100% that there is not a God, but there's enough evidence, enough scientific proof in my mind, with historical sort of, you know, with historical proof to back it up, to say, I don't believe in this, therefore, until it's proven, I'll just go the way it says. And the thing is, if somebody turned around to me and proved that there was an entity, there was a God, there was something, I would fully accept it. I have no doubt. There would be no, I'm an atheist, I will not accept you, God. That's not how it works. In the end, I would gladly accept that. You know, I like the idea of the world having magic in it and having things like that. But for me, magic comes from like physics and science and the unknown and stuff like that. And then it's like,
well, I mean, there's that line from Ghostbusters, like, you know, I think Ghostbusters 2, where like there are things in this universe that go way beyond human understanding, and I think that's really that's where the fascination lies. I mean, yes, we don't understand. We've kind of, you know, nailed down most things, but there's still things we do not understand. That fascinates me. Not just hand waved away. It's just, it's magic. No. Let's find the basis. Let's kind of hammer down and find what, you know, disease, like, you know, what they're doing in CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, is amazing.
Yeah. Was it David? I'm gonna forget his name. It was David Alt. Was that the guy's name? He was on the No Sleep podcast. Was it David Alt? Is that his name? The fella who we had on, and he did physics, as one of his sort of kind of. I think he's got a PhD in astrophysics or something like that, and he. I hope it's David Alt. I haven't got his name wrong. I think it is, but I remember talking to him about we were on the podcast and we were talking about sort of like ghosts and atheism. You know, I was basically going on about the way it was for me was because Northern Ireland is so messed up with religion, hence why I probably am an atheist, because, you know, I just, you know, that.
A reaction to it.
Yeah, and he was talking about, because he does ghost tours and stuff, and I was like, I don't believe in ghosts, I think it's rubbish. And he said, why? And then he just sort of kind of like, and this is a guy who's done sort of astrophysics and things like that. He says, why? I said, well, because, you know, there's no proof of anything of like a ghost particle. So anything that when you die sort of comes out and becomes sort of whatever is a spiritual entity or things like that. And he sort of says, yeah, but you know, that might be true, but there's no proof that there isn't. You know, science is something that is perpetually sort of evolving and finding the things, and that's not to say that within the quantum level or something like that there couldn't be things like that. And it's like, yeah, you know what, and I accepted straight there, you know what, yeah, I'm not going to call it bullshit. I'll just say I don't believe in them because at this moment in time I have no proof that there is, but you're right, there could be, but until that is proven to me, then I'm not going to sort of believe that. And so I'm the same view when it comes to sort of religion. I'm pretty confident there isn't. I would like there to be. You know, I would like to see my father again. I'd like to see my loved ones again and stuff like that. But in the end, in my mind, I can't. There's no evidence for that, and therefore I have to accept that it, you know, for the grand, you know, 99% chance in my mind there isn't, and therefore I just have to accept that. But that's not to say, again, there is something within physics that can sort of will prove that differently. So you know, if people want to have that belief and if they want to have that understanding, then all power to them. And I you know, I can come across quite militant sometimes when it comes to religion. And it's not about people who are religious. I've got some friends who are religious, and I you know, I think it's great because they're not preachy. They just have their strong beliefs in these things, and that's brilliant. It's the ones, and I think this sort of segues back to what we were talking about originally, is it's when things, you know, about people who do stuff that will hurt other people, and it's going back to Northern Ireland. It's just like where you're imposing beliefs on people. Yeah, I like, you know, and then imposing, you know, not getting jobs.
You're legislating morality.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same, like, you know, you not getting injections will hurt people and make things worse. You teaching creationism in schools,
that's a step
hurts. You know, and for me, creationism is absolutely insane, and I don't care where it comes from. I know sort of, you know, that, you know, any religion, if you believe the world is only 6,000 years old or younger, you're wrong, and you shouldn't be teaching that, because it's wrong, and it can be proved categorically that's not true. So you're basically telling lies. You're telling lies to people. So it's just like, I refuse to accept that, and that's why I get militant, and that's why I get angry, because you're teaching people lies and people spout stuff like that, and it's just rubbish. It's like you literally running around believing like the Easter Bunny and things. Oh, it's the same thing. You know, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go and teach your child after a certain age that Santa exists or the Easter Bunny exists and stuff like that, because they get ridiculed, they get made fun of. It would be insane, but yet they still can go around and go, well, the world's flat and it's 6,000 years old. No, it's not. It's not, and it can be proven very categorically, and it's just like that's what gets me anger. I have nothing against people being religious, and I think if you live your life in a moral way and you're a good person, and I've got, you know, I always bring up one of my mates called Alistair McNally I went to school with. He is a very religious person. We've had our sort of back and forths and stuff because I don't believe, but he is a good person and he doesn't try to convert. He preaches to his he's got, I think I think he might actually be a priest, but he sort of kind of preaches to and there's people who believe and stuff, and he doesn't try and sort of kind of force it upon you. And he has his belief, and it makes it he's a good person because of it, and he believes in that. That's all part of him.
Yeah, I was speaking to Caroline Simcox recently. She's the vicar of Fairford, and she's also a bit of a geek. And I was talking to her about Stargate Universe and Battlestar Galactica. And one thing she said to me that really stood out was, like, her faith is not independent of science. Her faith and science must be mutually compatible.
Okay, so she's intelligent design then?
No, she's basically like she believes in, like, she believes she is a devout. She is a vicar. She just happens to believe, like, in science as well.
Yeah, well, so you've got, like, a lot of the Church of England, and I think this is, Church of England have sort of kind of evolved their views on things from, God created everything to God basically give evolution a bit of a nudge to sort of help it sort of kind of go along, move along. And, if you're going to believe in something that's, it's not a bad theory, it's effectively the progenitor sort of kind of belief, somebody's come along, sort of kind of went zap and, budged things along. And you know what? It could have been, God could be an alien from another race. He's come along and just went, oh, there's some soup over there, boop, and done something, and it's come along. You never know.
Which is basically the plot of Prometheus and Covenant.
Yeah, that's true. That's another good segue. Me and my brother are playing Aliens Fireteam Elite, and we're on the Prometheus ship, or the ship from Prometheus, all little jars and things like that. And so yeah, the Prometheus side of things. Yeah. So there you go. Very active discussion about religion. There you go. We went from one extreme in music to.
But we are varied. We are not just singular geeks, and we have, like, a range of interest that goes way beyond just science fiction. And I think that's true of everyone. People are not just into sci-fi or they're into Star Trek. They have their own interests outside of the world of geekery, and it's just human nature.
Can I ask you something? So we were talking about this briefly before we came on here. Do you have as a nerd, and this is going to be proper geeky stuff, and as people people will be able to see behind me, my sort of kind of walls of nerdery and stuff, and it's pretty sort of, I'm not sure I can turn this around and stuff. You've got board games, you've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. There's loads, we've got Aliens Pulse Rifle, they got sort of, we'll call it, I love my shiny things. I love, nerdy stuff, and in certain ways it's a bit of a compulsion. It's like, if I like something, especially the way I am, I'm just sort of get quite zoned into it, and it's just like, I need all of that stuff, because if I don't have all of it, then it's going to go blah, 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 and I sort of kind of does my head in. And then I feel guilty because I've got it. I'm going through a bit of a stage, call it a midlife crisis, if you will. I'm 40, and I'm sitting in here in my glorious man cave, which I love, but I'm getting to this point where I'm just like, do I need all of this stuff? And is there a limit on what you should do? Now, when I if you had asked me last year, I'm like, no. I'd be like hammering, like my boxes, my Kickstarters would still be rolling in. I'd be getting loads of stuff, and I just need a bigger room for all my stuff. I don't sort of care. But I'm getting to the point now where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not playing this. Yeah. I'm not using that. I don't ever this. And what it was, right? I had sort of I'd been out, and I'd left the door in this room open, and had left Boz in, and Boz had heard something or whatever, and what he had ever done is he charged over into the back of that window there where the curtains are, jumped up on it, and started kicking off. Now, in that window there are knights from Warhammer 40,000. There was there's about 7 of them. 2 of them were painted, which, and I paint stuff, but I didn't paint, and I painted one of them, and he destroyed the one that was painted, Um, and he destroyed one of the other ones, which I was partially painted. And I came back and I walked in and I saw the destruction above me. My initial thought was like, I should be absolutely mortified that these things have been destroyed. But I didn't care. I didn't care. And it was that moment because I didn't care that I went, I didn't need these things in the first place. Yeah. I haven't used them in years. Yeah. They were just there. Like, it's upsetting because it was one of the ones that was painted, and painting stuff, I like having the things so I can display them and stuff, but it was like I never used them. Him destroying them was just like, and I'm just like, I threw one out. I just went and I stuck it in the bin, and I had no sort of, and it was just like, do I need all of this stuff, and does it make me happy? And so that's an interesting sort of kind of thing. It's just like,
Yeah, it's, for me, I mean, I say, I love board games, but I go through phases of which games I play. And I will not necessarily keep a game that I do not play. I mean, prime example is when, oh crap, the name of it, Steampunk War Game. It's completely skipping my head. Oh, but yeah, basically, War Game came out. I was really into it. Me and my mates were. I'd gone into the Covenant of Antarctica, and had this big fleet.
Oh, Dystopian Wars.
Thank you. Yes,
I had a Dystopian Wars fleet. Yeah.
Yeah, and we played it. We really enjoyed it, and then we kind of realised that the first turn took about 2 hours to play.
Good board
and
game.
It was really slow game, and we started losing interest in it, and we got the second edition. Thought we'll give it a try, and oh yeah, it's even faster. Don't worry, this is faster. Yeah, the first turn took an hour and 3/4 to play.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things where we just kind of stopped playing it, and then basically I've got this nicely painted fleet, and I was like, well, I'm not playing it. Why? And it's very nice, but I'm not playing it, so I just sold it, and I didn't have any cards now, because the game was pretty much unplayable. Now, having said that, I still got all my mechs from MechWarrior Age of Destruction, because that is a really good game. Now it's no longer supported. Now WizKids have got bought out and went under. But I've got all the rules, I've got all the symbols, but I'm just basically put it away in a little box, and it's there for when I want to play it. And again, like board games.
What about your RPGs? So you get a lot of RPGs through the review and stuff like that. Would you? Are they something you would keep, even if you didn't play them?
Well, that's a nice segue. Hang on a second. Excuse me. Okay.
He's
games. I go through phases with role-playing games. I mean, I've got games like Earthdawn and Shadowrun that I've been wanting to play, but never got around to playing it. And there's games that I love, like Mage. I absolutely adore Mage, so I'm going to keep those books. D&D, love that game, and I'm playing it with the family, so again, I'm going to keep it. But I've got loads of books that's in Barum, but it's not just they've good rules, but also it's a good artwork. So there's some I'll keep, but some which I don't play, which I'll probably just get rid of. I mean, frankly, MechWarrior 3rd Edition is no longer supported. I'm not playing it now because it's very gritty system, like very, very heavy rule system. But I'm not going to sell it on the grounds that the book is trashed. Now, the segue is that Geek Pride has got a brand new, completely sealed, still in cellophane, completely untouched, unopened, untarnished copy of the Colonial Marines Operation Manual for Alien, the role-playing game. Check out review. I loved it. It's a great addition. If you want to play Aliens and play Colonial Marines in a full-on Aliens campaign, that is the book for you. Really, it is just fantastic.
We haven't done a giveaway. We haven't done a giveaway in a while. We used to do that one where you get some orange Fanta or something. I think we were offering orange Fanta up at one point in time.
We're going to have a bit more than just an orange Fanta. We are getting this. Now, I think for this giveaway, we've got to just you've got to share it, like, subscribe.
All right, I'll sort something out. Maybe sort of like following the podcast or get some more
follow
people.
the podcast. Basically, follow Geek Pride on your social media of your choice, Twitter, Facebook. Like us, share us, get the word out of here, and we will kind of put in the raffle, and one of you will get this.
It's a beautiful
book.
And
trust me,
absolutely beautiful book.
It is fucking awesome. It's artwork is good. Now, speaking to the Free League guys at UK Games Expo, and one thing they said is they do not approach role-playing game books as just a role-playing game. They approach them as art books, and that is absolutely true in the case of the Cloning Marines Operation. The artwork is just fantastic. The just sheer aesthetics and layout and set out and design the book is just really good.
See, I think books are slightly different in that way, is that they do have good artwork. You know, it's again, I don't get rid of books because I kind of like ones because history stuff I generally reread anyway. But the sort of geeky stuff, you know, the artwork and things like that is sort of thing. I suppose it's the same with like the stuff I get rid of. Here is stuff like one I've got maybe something that's similar and I've just never played it, or like all my 40k stuff. Like I like for I'm sort of slightly falling out of love with it because, you know, there's so much of it now, and it just sort of, you know, it's becoming quite bloated. I've got to the point where I'm like,
that's why I want to get into Kill Team, sorry.
Yeah.
Where it's basically it's a skirmish. I really like skirmish game. I don't want mass combat where you got like multitudes of tanks and hordes of infantry, because that just gets boring. It's rolling dice after dice after dice. I want something very tactical.
See, I don't
finite, and
I like the idea of an epic game. Now, for me, and I've said this to so many of my friends, like there was a game. Do you remember the game Epic, which was basically Warhammer 40k?
I used to have it.
Yeah, with like 6mm guys, you know, tiny. I love that game because in my mind, especially as a child growing up, Warhammer was this massive galaxy spanning huge armies sort of thing going on. And when you first start playing 40k, it was skirmishy. There wasn't many guys, and so it's like, oh, it's a smaller scale version of that. But because as time's gone on, they've went, oh, we want all these different units in, and they've upped the scale of it to the point where you have to spend a lot of money, and you can't really use everything that you've got because, you know, a lot of the games, you're never going to get past a 2,000 point game generally, especially in competition. You're never going to get past that. And you know, they've got Adeptus Titanicus now, which is basically brought it back. So it's Titans. Now, if they brought Epic back, where they basically made small versions of the, you know, tanks, Land Raider, you know, they brought it back, brought the infantry back, brought tanks. I think I'd sell most of my 40k stuff. I'd maybe keep some of my Space Wolf stuff because, you know, it's near and dear to my heart, but I'd maybe use it for painting and not playing, and then I would just do Epic, because that way I could get my scale without breaking the bank and without sort of feeling like I had, you know, loads and loads of stuff to sort of deal with. And I think that's where I would go.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's how much you play and how much it's a ratio of like how much you play it and how much space it takes up.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, for example, it's like Zombicide. I got Zombicide and Zombicide, the mole one, and it was okay, but it was getting very samey. And there's so many Zombicides out there. I was thinking, well, I only want one. And the Invader one, which is basically the aliens version of Zombicide. You might see a pattern developing here in regards to me. I thought, well, I'm going to sell off the Zombicide kit and the Toxic City Mall one, and just get Invader. And they're basically, I've got my Zombicide fix. Yeah. But with aliens and not Colonial Marines. But I mean, and there's stuff like, prime example is my wife and I went on holiday, obviously, last week, and I took with me like Manchester Madness. I love that game. It is basically Call of Cthulhu, the role-playing game, as a board game, and I absolutely adore it because it really nails the kind of like Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos spot on. But by the time we put all the kids to bed, we had no time left for games.
Yeah.
And so we just ended, rather than playing, like, I thought, oh, damn it. Like, this shortest one takes about 2 hours to play. And I thought, well, it's gone midnight. I'm going to be getting up early to go out and do stuff. So, why? So, in the end, we just played Lovecraft Letters, which is basically the same Cthulhu fix, but in a much shorter and tighter time frame. And it's one of the things of, well, with all my, I'm not going to get rid of Manchester United because they are a great game. I love playing that game, but I might get rid of, say, what was it? Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
Yeah.
Again, that's a very fun game, but it's very similar to Manchester Madness. And do I need 2 games that are similar?
Yeah, like
maybe.
I've got a load of stuff upstairs that I'm just like, I'm just going to sell. There's certain things like I'll keep. So I've got like first edition Hero Quest and stuff, which I probably never play, but it's because it's a nostalgia type thing. I've got like first edition, second edition Talisman. I've got Talisman and all the expansions from second edition. Again, I will never play these, but because they're like quite retro and stuff from my childhood, I'd have them.
Got some memories to attach to it.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's like even new stuff, like I bought it's called Agents of Mayhem, and it's basically
Smirsh.
Yeah. It's like it's basically, what's that called? That computer game, Saints Row type thing, and it's basically the concept pretty good because you've got like destructible buildings and there's 3D buildings and things like that. I like the idea of that, but I said I'm never going to play that. I just got it because it looked cool. I'm never going to play it. And so it's just sat there in its box, and I
got the Aliens, the actual Aliens board game up there. Aliens, Another Ghost in the Core. And I've read the rules, and it looks great. It's fantastic. But you've got to assemble all the Marines and all the alien figures.
You see, Pete, I was the same. That's one of the reasons I was just like, I've got too much grey plastic and stuff on sprues. I hate building stuff. That's why I quite like sort of like X-Wing and
all pre-painted,
even the cool minis or not stuff like the Age of Ice and Fire game. I love that game. I've got loads of it. All comes pre-assembled, and I love it.
MechWarrior Age of Destruction did that. They all come pre-assembled, completely painted, and basically just like already in the box for to play.
Yep.
And having all those figures, have to, like, literally there's like 40, 50 figures that you have to kind of assemble. And these are not just like, touch an arm or a leg. No, this is literally, you have to touch the head.
Yeah.
Or like kind of reassemble the alien, which is like, no, it's multiple limbs and a tail, and hope it doesn't fall apart.
We see, what I do now is I wait until somebody's selling it already pre-built.
Wise.
So I have the Aliens game now, but I got it pre-built. So the guy who sold it, he sold it for effectively what was the same price as it went out, but it was he's built everything. So I don't have to build the stuff, so I can now play that game with it all built. And I was like, because again, I'm the same. Like, I got that Cursed City. It was the new Warhammer quest. And then I was just like, why? Because it's got so much stuff that's going to need to be built, and I've got so much stuff that and I don't mind building things, but on now and again, just sort of kind of building the odd stuff. But that's another thing I've done. I've just got rid of I had loads of tanks and things, 40k tanks and things, and I was just like, I am never going to build these. I'm just getting rid because I'm never going to build them. I don't need them. And every now and again, I like building the odd thing, and then we can I can play with it, but it's like, I think like with like the time being such like a resource, like a limited resource at the moment, like leisure time. You don't want to kind of, unless you kind of like the tactile sensation of building something. If you're a gamer, you just want to play the game, then have to kind of spend time actually putting the game together and then having to play. It just feels a bit just wasted time almost. I see. The thing is, I don't build unless I'm doing something. So when I'm building things, I'm always watching. I'm binge watching. I'll only do it when I'm binge watching something on Netflix or something like that. And that, because my mind can zone out and I can just I'm building and sort of watching something on the TV. And that's generally when I'll do and it doesn't bother me that way and stuff. I would never build something, sit there and just build something on its own. I couldn't do it. maybe if I was making like a diorama or something like that, and I had a bit more in but if for just the sake of I want to play with these guys, nah, I'm not gonna do it. So I will generally now buy stuff that's already built. Again, I know they appreciate the whole thing. It's about conversions and being able to sort of kind of make different things.
But add your personal touch to it.
Yeah, I'll do that, because I got some stuff and I have created sort of, some Space Wolfy things from the new Primaris range and stuff, but it's just like, all right, I'm done now. I don't want to do any more. I'm out. And I understand some people have some beautiful armies and stuff, but it's like, a 40k is just like, especially, there's just so much, there's such a big range out there that you're never going to be able to use all of because of the size of it. And that's what it's crying out for. Epic to come back, for it to be Epic Armageddon or whatever it was.
I mean, basically, in the sheer scale of it, 40k has become epic, essentially, just in the sheer amount of the size of your armies, and there's no need for it. I mean, bring back 40k back to being a skirmish game. I mean, that's why I want to play Kilting, because that's a skirmish game, and that is like, literally about 10 units max.
Yeah, well, that's it, and you got like Necromunda and things like that, and I'm kind of glad they're going for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I've got Necromunda gang. I've got Kill Team and stuff, but again, it's just not something. I don't know. I'm just sort of going through one of those stages at the minute where I'm just like, I need to get rid of some things.
Declutter.
Yeah, and there's some stuff, and I'm not going to ever get rid of, and things like, there's certain things which I will never get rid of, but it's just like, for example, like my X-Wing stuff over there, and I've got a lot of X-Wing stuff, and I've got a lot of Armada stuff, and I love Armada. Star Wars Armada is an amazing game, but they're actually stopping. Not supporting it. They're just not going to be building and making any.
They're still supporting it. They're just not developing anything new for it,
which doesn't stress me out, because that means I don't have anything else to buy.
Yeah.
And I can keep my collection as it is. I've got all the rules and things like that, so I can play it when I want to. X-Wing brought out a new version. And the new version had sort of like different sort of a certain different mechanic, and you could buy conversion kits, so you could convert your ships into this new version. And the sort of kind of, I need to do this sort of thing in my mind, the nerd side of me, the compulsion was like, you need to get conversion kits for everything you've got just in case. I was like, man, you've never I don't know about, you've played that game about 4 times. It's a good game, but you're not going to play it enough to justify buying all those conversion kits and stuff. All you got them is because they're nice models. They're good models. They're pre-built. They're pre-painted. They look nice on a shelf. And now and again, you can play. And if you do play, just play the old version. You're not going to competitively play, so you don't need to play the newer version of it and stuff.
That's exactly what I did. Basically, I was buying the Rebels from like first edition of X-Wing. And then they just said, well, no, we've got 2nd edition now, and all your fleet is now, out of, no longer viable. And just like, well, I'm sticking with 1st edition because I enjoyed the game, but I don't enjoy that much to kind of spending it again. So basically, me and my kids just played. My daughter's got the Millennium Falcon up in her bedroom, and my eldest son has got some X-Wings up in his bedroom.
Yeah, they're great. They're great, especially for kids. You're playing with your kids and stuff. It's it's the competition side of things that sort of maybe and it's just like, and I went through that stage of, I need to get conversion kits for everything, and the only time I think I'm now going to get conversion kits maybe is if they were like super cheap. And it's you literally just be getting new cards and things. But as it is, I don't play it enough to sort of justify it, and I'm not too stressed about it anymore. I just sort of kind of, as it is, I love it because it's Star Wars, and it's this thing. I've got Star Wars Legion. Again, the only thing that sort of kind of prevents me from doing more Star Wars Legion, I've got a fair bit of it, is because you have to stick all the stuff together, and it's just like, but if they brought out a Armada version of Star Wars Legion, so you could get AT-ATs, and you could get you could get sort of like units of guys, and there's a forum I'm on Facebook, and they have like 3D prints of Star Wars Legion stuff, but on the same scale, epic scale. And I was like, man, they need to make this game. I would throw all my money at this game. I would literally, it's just amazing because it's, again, the scale of it's there. It's like you've got you've got literally AT-ATs, and you've got, you got everything to scale, and it's the scale that you could even bring in sort of some of the X-Wing stuff, and it's just like, that would be amazing. They need to do this. That would be so good, but they've not done it, and it's just like, well, there you go. And I don't play enough sort of Legion to sort of kind of justify getting that much more anymore for it, so I'm just left.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, money, time, age.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, it's about coming up for an hour and 20.
Yep.
I think I better get going, unfortunately.
No probs.
It's the first day back at school with the kids, and they're a bit restless.
I understand.
So I'm really, really sorry, guys.
All right. Okay, everybody. We'll leave it there because Pete has to go, and I'm currently watching Hitch for no apparent reason. So I'll just carry on watching that. Okay. But for tonight, thanks very much, everybody. I appreciate people who've been watching and listening to myself and Pete rant about ourselves,
life,
but being muchly appreciated. For me, I've been Matt Geary, and with me has been Peter Ray Ellison.
Good night, everyone, and take care.
Night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.